This morning when we did the exploration on the body, I can't articulate most of what happened, but I noticed there's a lot of parts which weren't allowing the empty, open awareness to permeate them, even though I've done, I've been exploring this both at your retreats and occasionally when I have the courage to do them on my own. And I wondered if you'd talk a bit more about that.
Yes, it's first thing I would say is that it's very good to have discovered these pockets of resistance in the body that are impervious to this meditation. In fact, one of the first things to happen when we engage in a meditation of this type is that we notice our resistance to it. It exposes our resistance. So the first thing is, don't feel that the exposure of that resistance is in some ways a failure of your meditation. On the contrary, it means the meditation is working. Because these pockets of density are the residues of the me feeling in the body. They are being flushed out of their hiding places. Most of the time, you're not aware of this resistance because your mind is suitably distracted by its activity. So this resistance remains below the threshold of our awareness, dictating our thoughts, activities and behavior from behind the scenes. So it's very good that now that your mind is no longer focused on objects but is giving attention to the experience of the body, that these resistances are coming up and being exposed. And these resistances are just like little parts of the drawing where the dots in your drawing, and the only marks you're making in your drawing are dots. That's all that's there in the experience of the body are these tingling dots. So these pockets of density in the body are areas where your dots are so close together that they seem to have congealed into a solid knot. In fact, if you look very closely, you put them under a magnifying glass and you blow them up, times 10 and times 100 and times 1,000, you find they're just little dots permeated, surrounded by empty space. So go towards them, or rather let these knots come, these pockets of density come right up into the middle of the field of awareness. And very slowly, lovingly breathe emptiness in and out of them. But not with the intention of getting rid of them, or just in the same way that a mother would help her child, encouraging it to change at the same time, knowing that it doesn't matter at all whether the child changes or not. The love is unconditional. So you're breathing this emptiness into these knots in the body, inviting these knots to slowly, slowly, slowly open up and relax and soften. But you're doing it in a disinterested and loving way. It's not a goal-orientated way, because the goal has already been reached. I am the field of infinite consciousness.
That's helpful, because normally I'm really goal-orientated, but in this case you're right, I've already...
The goal has already been reached. Yeah. You are already standing as the goal. That is why, incidentally, in this approach, I always take a few days. We've rather fast-forwarded this weekend because we had questions about the body, but it's why I said earlier, usually I'd take 2 or 3 days on a week-long retreat before even introducing this approach to the body. Because it's important that we don't just start this contemplation of the body in the way that one going to a conventional yoga class starts. I am this physical body and it's a little bit stiff and it needs stretching and opening. That just reinforces the sense of separation. So that's why we take time, a day or so, ideally a few days longer, to really establish in our experience what I essentially am. I am open, empty field of awareness in which the sensation is appearing. And then when we're established as that, from that perspective, we begin to explore the sensation of the body. So that's important.
So one thing I noticed was yesterday when we were doing a lot of the, for whom is the experience, or what is it that knows this experience, there's always, and it's been this way for several months, even in May in Wales, there's always like a little frisson of like fear, anxiety or something, I don't know, but not pleasant, but the last sort of, there's always a little like a tremor. And then today there was none of that, it was just sensation, it wasn't emotions.
Yes.
Which was a bit...
No, that's good. In this case, the feelings have lost their psychological content. What is the difference? Let's say you feel anger and you feel the feeling in you feel a sensation in your body. What is the difference in that case between the feeling of anger and the sensation that it triggers in the body? In other words, what is the difference between the feeling and the sensation, the emotion and the sensation?
There's a story with the emotion.
Yes, exactly. The emotion is a sensation plus a story. So I feel anger. The feeling of anger is both a sensation in the body and a storyline revolving around a separate self who has been wronged because he or she did or didn't do this to me, etc. So you're right that in a way, in this contemplation, the outer layer of the feeling, which is the story that packages the feeling, is we don't pay much attention to the story. There have been no stories about emotions this weekend, because the deeper aspect of the anger, the feeling, is the sensation in the body. That is the deeper root of the feeling. So it's good that the feelings are losing their storyline. You're getting more to the meat of the feeling.
Just one more thing on this one. It wasn't unpleasant. There was a density or an opacity, but it was just literally a physical sensation. It's like, when you stretch your arm, there's a kind of a pain, but it's not a pain because there's no suffering or story to it. It's just, I've stretched my arm and there's a stretching feeling kind of a thing.
Yes, you feel angry. The story is the packaging in which the feeling is couched. But when you go into the center of that feeling, without the story, it's just a raw sensation. What is the difference? It's a very good question to ask yourself. What is the difference between this sensation that I feel burning in my chest and the experience of hunger? Or the sensation of your legs on the chair? They're both made out of the same stuff. Why do I call one of them unbearable anger and the other the sensation of my legs on the chair?
I actually thought maybe I wasn't going deep enough and that's why there wasn't emotions coming up.
No, you're going in the right direction. That's good.